So this video is about how I got wind data working, and I don't really know if it's working yet. I kind of made this video to see if it's working. One of the tricky things about these trimarans is that they have rotating masts. So the wind sensor up at the top isn't always pointing in the same direction. And you need a wind sensor that can compensate for that. There's a bunch out there, and I went with this one called OpenWind, which is wireless and solar powered and pretty cool. But to make it work with your boat instruments, you need to get this other thing that talks to it over Bluetooth and converts it into NMEA, and that's another few $100s. And one day I was sailing and I ripped that thing off of its wire by accident, and it went into the ocean, and I didn't want to buy another one. So I decided to make my own out of a Raspberry Pi, which I have in this waterproof box in my boat, velcroed to the wall. And so to do that, it was definitely not the simplest way to go about things, but there's this great thing called SignalK, which is good for integrating boat data, and I was able to make a plugin for it that talks to this OpenWind thing. And it pretty much seems to be working now. Here's this cool web page that I made where this is mostly for debugging. You can see kind of the mast rotation there. That little red plus sign is it's offset at, what does it say, 13 degrees. And this is actually the real-time wind over the internet on my boat, which is pretty neat. And then I can download a CSV from this thing, which is how I got the data on this video. So anyway, now that I have all of this stuff finally working, is it working? I mean, this looks pretty good. First thing I noticed was that the true wind speed doesn't always seem to be believable. So that could have something to do with calibration. That is actually coming from my Orca device that's on the boat. So we have to look into that. But it's not too bad. I mean, so those numbers on the arrows, the top degree one is the apparent wind, and the bottom one is the true wind, which the true wind I kind of did as a post process, so it's only computed like every second or something. The apparent wind is right from the Raspberry Pi, like the sensor direction minus the boat rotation, so that's that. Everything else is kind of like computed from the GPS position of the boat, and so it updates a little slower just because I didn't want to make a gigantic, fill my disk with numbers. So anyway, like, it's not too bad so far. Hopefully we just tacked, but in a minute we'll have a jibe coming up and we'll see how that goes. Oh, and if you see anything wrong, if I'm totally missing something or just totally don't get it, and there's something that's just obviously not right, please let me know in the comments, because I'm not an expert at this. I'm just trying to figure it out as I go and make it make sense, and I'm doing my best, but definitely don't hold back. Thanks. So here we go. We're starting this jibe. We're at 115 true wind. And we're going, here we go, 150. Now the apparent wind should start to slow down as we go away from the real wind. So that's down to 9, which makes sense. The speed is 5. The true wind says it's 15, so that all adds up. And here we go. Come on. Let's get this jibe done. And I mean, I'm okay with it kind of spinning around a little bit here. That happens. That's real life. It's probably what's going on top of the mast. And there we go. We're coming up to about, what do we got here? 80 degrees. We're a little hot, I guess, which actually is what the little map is showing there. Looks like we bear off in a little while. Probably we're going to be getting overpowered with the screecher up. Heading that high up on the wind. It's weird watching yourself sail. Anyway, overall it seems like it's kind of working. What actually is going on is basically there's a compass in that wind sensor at the top of the mast. So it's telling the system where the mast is pointing. So the mast is pointing at, like, let's say, I guess our heading is 15. The mast is probably pointing at like 340 or something, which means the mast is rotated 40 degrees. And then the boat has a thing in it that it knows which way it's going. And so we subtract those two numbers to figure out the, basically the sensor rotation minus the boat rotation equals the actual direction that the wind is coming from. And then to get like true wind and true wind speed and true wind direction, you have to then like do some Pythagorean theorem on which way the boat's going and subtract that from the vector of the wind speed and direction. And I mean, one of my favorite things going on here in the bottom right is true wind direction, which should be pretty consistent. So it's I've noticed throughout this video it's something like 235 to 242 so far. And in Long Beach it tends to increase as the day goes on. Like it kind of goes more and more. It starts out in the south and ends up in the northwest, so that's happening. It should be going up. And then you can see that little arrow in the upper right corner. That is sort of a visual indicator. And if you look at that arrow compared with our path, it kind of looks like, what do we got? 100 degrees to the, that's 100 degrees. 100 degrees true wind to our current kind of direction. And then the 19 knots of apparent makes sense because we're going 14 here. And if the wind is, if we're at like a 90-degree angle to the wind, it shouldn't be affecting the apparent speed too much. So I'm mostly happy here. If anyone watching this video notices something that I'm totally overlooking, please comment. I mostly just want to have this thing be accurate, both for sailing purposes and for video purposes, because this is pretty cool being able to really see. This is really what I'm going for, is with making these videos, is being able to watch them and kind of separate the dogma of sailing from what really works. Like when you actually have the data to see, oh, doing this thing with the sails actually made us go faster or slower. And you always need to know the wind speed and direction to really know if it was you doing something or was it just the wind, You got a gust at the same time that you tweaked the sail, and that's why you went faster. So, yeah, that's where we're at. I think I like this. So, let me know if you see anything wrong. I'm just gonna let this run for a little while and keep watching it. Have a nice day.